Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture, and the rogues who create them every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast and Twitch.tv/Rogue Wave Podcast. Download our podcast immediately following this live stream on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud. Anywhere you can download podcasts, we are on there. Search Rogue Wave Podcast or go to roguewavepodcast.com to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. I want to be welcoming a good friend of ours to the show. I'm your host, Michael Dolce, as always joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan, Lord of the Livestream Godwin, and we are joined today by Printed in Blood's Steve Hoveke, and we are going to discuss... Well, we've got actually quite a lot to discuss. Game of Thrones 1 year later. The SnyderCut may be seeing the light of day. Some Fantastic Four news. And our Rogue retro review of Temple of the Doom. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
Good morning.
I want to be welcoming. That's my English for the... that's my English.
Welcome!
Yes. Yes. And Steve, it's nighttime right now, so I don't know why you're saying good morning. It's just very strange.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Steve is disoriented because he's on the Death Star.
This is true.
So he doesn't actually know what time it is.
I'm in Australia.
So, as we like to do, it's funny. I wonder how many people obviously we all know each other from our days back in Wizard. I just wonder how many people even know what Wizard Magazine is, besides maybe they know what the shows are, but people used to confuse like Wizard World with like Wizards of the Coast anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm just wondering, like, anybody on Facebook, they're like, Wizard, what's this Wizard everyone keeps talking about? Like, that's weird, right?
Well,
we know Donnie Cates does.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he knows. Everyone else is kind of,
Well, the entity of Wizard that we knew has been gone for over 10 years already,
Yes,
so
as our magazine.
Yeah.
just magazines in general.
D made that comment the other day, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was that long ago."
Yeah, it's incredible, right? I mean, when you really think about it, the magazine itself, folded in 2010, 2011?
Yeah, something like
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
I left Wizard in 2009. Right?
I miss the magazine.
Yeah,
I really do. I
miss
having a magazine where you can read about.
I agree with you. It's a hole in the industry, but I mean, I don't know. Nobody stepped up to fill it, so it's I guess the industry doesn't need it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure out. If like you said, if something actually, beckons for that. But with YouTube, with just mobile apps and mobile websites, I mean, who knows? We'll see. Maybe it'll be in a different incarnation than we know of it. But all right, enough of the past.
Oh, I like the past.
I know the past is great. Let's get into our Rogue Rage segment. This is all the rage in the pop culture world, and let's talk about the past. 1 year ago, Game of Thrones premiered. It was May 18th, 2019. And
you mean the last season of Game of Thrones,
May 19th, 2019, the divisive Game of Thrones finale, and people are still kind of talking about it. People are still kind of on a polarized fence. This is from Entertainment Weekly. One of the Game of Thrones actresses commented, the woman who played Melisandre across 7 seasons. She said she loved the ending, particularly Bran Stark being the surprising choice to rule the 7, now 6 kingdoms.
What?
She said,
I haven't seen it yet.
Now, at this point, sorry, spoilers are off.
Oh, man.
The actress also added the blowback against the divisive final season feels a bit ungrateful. The fact that some people were so disappointed is because everything before that was so good. You've had such great times, and then, you're going to be disappointed because it's not going to go exactly how you anticipated. Of course, you're going to have all sorts of criticisms, and I just thought it was a sign of how good the show was. She also kind of added that beyond fandom, talking about how the showrunners were getting lambasted. Beyond fandom, that's extremism. That's scary. Knowing the writers and knowing how effing great they are, they don't deserve that, which is the online criticism. Do we still care at this point? Has kind of the Now, Steve, did you? I mean, were you a Game of Thrones guy? I mean, I'm sure.
I am, and I was, and I am, and it's one of those things where there's just so much shit to watch, and I understand that it was a touchstone thing, and we just honestly haven't gotten around to watching the final season. That's all it comes down to. I mean, listen, listen, I don't care. I've heard all, and listen.
At this point, it's on you, right? I mean, at this point, it's
exactly. And by the time I get to it, I'm sure I've either forgotten everything that I had heard, or there'll be plenty of stuff that's going to surprise me anyway.
Yeah. There's going to be. I mean, we're doing May Retro Movie Month, May movie blockbuster retro reviews and stuff like that. So maybe at some point we will retro review season, the last season of Game of Thrones when all is said and done finally, because maybe watching it in succession is different than what it was week to week. To me, I never had a problem with the outcome. I don't think most of fandom really had a problem with the outcome. It was the execution of the outcome and how rushed everything felt. Like, no matter what, to me, that final season, it was just like, okay, we got to go here. Suddenly ship, sailing across continents took, a cutaway. It was these little things that, just felt jarring. And to a point, I get it. You can't. I mean, it's, you have to wrap things up as quickly as you can. So I even those little things I kind of excused. However, the descent of madness from the main character definitely felt rushed, and it still does. It's still, looking back, it does. But Hassan, have you rewatched it at all or no?
I saw it when I saw it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I just don't know. If rewatching it, in order is going to change. The opinion.
I think the thing that does them in is the fact that everybody kind of came out and hung them out to dry about why the last two seasons were so truncated in the first place.
Yeah. Because
it's not like one of those situations where HBO demands that they do the same quality of a show but do it with less episodes, because they did that to a number of my favorite shows in their last, where their ratings weren't as stellar as they just did it to Westworld. They just gave them only 8 episodes in
did they give them 8? See, Westworld, I think Jonathan Nolan was like,
they always leave that kind of ambiguous as to why the season.
From what I understand, HBO does not really meddle in terms of those kind of things, unless it comes to we want more. See, for Game of Thrones, it was a compromise. It was, we want to be out, in season 7, or right, season 8.
Well, they meddle by cutting your budget. So if they cut your budget down and you want to do,
but they didn't.
You want to do something like that's cinematic, but you have to, in order to keep up the cinematic quality of the previous episodes, you have to do less episodes because you have to spread the budget out a little further.
From what I understand, especially with Game of Thrones being the number 1 show HBO has ever done, there was no cutting of any budget for them.
This is what I'm saying.
HBO, they
Michael,
were imploring them to do more. They wanted,
which is exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying the problem is that the HBO, everybody hung them out to dry this time because everyone came forward saying that they didn't ask D&D to shorten the seasons. They don't know why they wanted out so badly so quickly.
Yeah.
And my theory is that they thought that they were going to be adapting work, and then towards the end of the series, they found out that they were having to make stuff up, in order to end the series, because they didn't have any material to work from anymore. And then, whereas those guys are good adapters, they're not writers at the quality of George Martin.
No.
So they've got all this sophisticated, past history that they're, and then everything started to become Hollywood. Like, everybody started to get what they wanted. Things started to happen with no consequences. Heroes started murdering villains,
right.
like a Flash Gordon story, it turned into Star Wars. So, I mean, look, I don't mind it. I don't mind the end. I think the road to the end was very truncated and wasn't that, it wasn't that effective.
Right.
But I don't hate them because of what happened.
I mean, that's the thing.
That's very different.
Look, online hate is so much different than actual sitting around your basement hate with a bunch of friends.
Why is it always the basement?
It's got to be the basement.
you can't hate unless you're in the basement.
Yeah. That's exactly where.
Yeah, you can't hang out on the porch.
Basements, caves.
Yeah,
that's where they hang out.
That's true.
That's why they call it a man cave.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's all. There's no woman cave. There's no hate in a woman cave. right?
No, they're she sheds that are out in the, there's a shed in the backyard. They throw them in a box in the back.
Those are inappropriate places for hatred. Can't hate in here. This is the she shed.
Listen, I didn't see it obviously, but I have a very simple philosophy when it comes to the final seasons or final episodes of long running and very popular television series. Is the simple question is, who is it that liked that particular ending? Mm-hmm. And the answer is someone always does. Okay. You're never going to appease everyone. You're never going to give everyone the ending that they want, because everyone's going to look at it and expect different things. I mean, yeah, there might be a couple of main things that everyone kind of wants to see happen, but overall, you're never going to appease everyone. And in most cases, you're going to piss more people off than you're ever going to appease. Just because, I mean, there's no way when you have a season or
but there's a different, that's the thing. It's the thing, and this is what's really funny though. And I think this conversation is going to spur you guys on to actually go and watch that final season. Again, it's not the what happened; it's the execution of how it happened, and not a question of the events that actually transpired. It was just the timeline and the truncated timeline of how it all went down. You'll just sit there and go, okay, I understand. You're telling me that so-and-so is going to do this, but I don't feel like so-and-so is going to do this because, and look at me now spoiling, not trying to keep the spoilers away.
No, do what you got to do.
It's going to, that's the way it's going to read when you actually, or it's going to be processed when you actually do it. You're going to sit there and go, whereas in previous seasons, you felt the character changes. You felt the characters doing, changing and transforming and growing, and you're going to sit there and go, okay, they're just kind of telling us that it's almost bullet points that you're watching because of how quick everything ended. All right, let's shift to some positive TV news. Snowpiercer opening to strong ratings for TNT. The long in the making series premiered as the top new entertainment program on cable in 2020 so far. The premiere of Snowpiercer chugged its way to big ratings Sunday on TNT. It debuted to 600,000 plus adults in 18 to 49, 700 plus in 25 to 54. Taken together, it delivered 1 million adults in the 1849. This is actually based off of a French graphic novel, Les Transpersignages. I think I got that right.
Yep.
But it's also the adaptation of the Bong Joon-ho feature film. So a couple interesting things about this in general. First of all, one, I didn't realize Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite, who just won the Academy Award, did the original Snowpiercer movie, which I did see.
For God's sakes, do your research.
I tell him every week, I need my staff. But it just never happens.
But that's kind of neat. That's kind of neat to see. Where
you've seen the film, right?
Yeah, I've seen I've seen the film. But I haven't seen the TV series yet.
Me neither.
We're gonna probably do a 3-episode maybe review in June. We'll see.
All right.
See, I saw the TV series and I haven't seen the movie.
The movie's a lot of fun, man.
I know. I mean, the show was a lot of fun. The premise and I think the premise of the show and the premise of the movie are different. So I think in theory, these two, the two entities are supposed to take place in conjunction with one another, where one doesn't cancel the other out.
Correct. Even though the TV show does apparently, just from what I've seen and what I spoke to some of the promotions marketing people at New York Comic Con about it, and they were actually telling me a little bit more about like the concept of the show, because I was like, why are you guys bothering to remake this? The film was good and it came out and it's like 2 years ago. I was like, or 3 years ago, whatever it was. I'm like, why are we bothering to go with the TV show now? They're like, oh, no. It's different in this way and this way. I'm like, oh, okay.
I just read the history of the TV show, though, and they keep saying the long-awaited, because this thing actually had an original showrunner that had recorded an entire pilot episode, and then they fired him, and they brought in a new director, and then there was all this Twitter beef between the new guy, the old showrunner, and the new showrunner. The new showrunner was kind of funny too, because they kind of asked him. They're like, what are your thoughts on the old showrunner's tweets? And he's like, I'm not going to comment on that. I mean, it sucks to get fired. That's the way I read it.
There's
anyway.
no reason he should either.
He's like, I'm not going to comment on any of this. It sucks getting farted. So he basically was like one of those like, whoosh, see the back of my hand?
Yeah, get away. Stop.
I'm going to do a little backhanded like, no.
Pay attention to this show I just made. There's so much to see over here.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because the original director of the episode as well too, of the original pilot was like, they asked me to go and reshoot the whole episode. And he's like, I'm not going to do it. It was a work of art and I'm not going to do it. And a new guy came in. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to get another guy. And they just did it. So
it's a work of art that you're going to get paid for twice. Stop being
right.
Stop being a monkey.
Yeah, it was.
Come back and do it.
It was Josh Friedman who was there. He did a near complete. Then basically, Graham Manson, who ran Orphan Black, was later hired as showrunner, and they proceeded to do a near complete teardown of Friedman's pilot, which was directed by Scott Derrickson.
I mean, okay, that has to hurt. I mean, if you have loyalty to someone, that hurts
I know.
Also. I mean, that's a real thing. But these days nothing ever dies. So I mean, even if the show becomes popular, that pilot's gonna rise again. It's gonna come out of nowhere again. Especially if it's a work of art.
It's like you're segueing into our next story, which is just
because I read the outline, Mike.
Look at you! See, you finally did some work. How about that? Now? You're always like, all right, you're gonna get me something. I didn't read it. Justice League Snyder Cut. It's official. The Zack Snyder Cut will reportedly end up streaming on HBO Max in 2021. It is official. It came out earlier today on HBO Max. Now, originally, it's a pretty big announcement. Well,
after all that build-up, people are still going to hate it.
But they're referencing, DCEU's mythics, Jeremy Conrad, and all this other stuff. And so at first, I kind of rolled my eyes, and I'm like, "All right, sure, yeah, we're gonna get the Snyder Cut, sure."
Nope.
But then I was digging around, and apparently it's on. Forbes did an article on it. Apparently, Snyder actually screened his cut for HBO executives. This is supposedly one of the things I read.
Wait, it's supposedly,
but are they going to pay to finish it?
You supposedly read it, or did you read it?
I read it. I did read it.
Okay.
I also supposedly read it.
Right, but are Warner Brother executives going to pay to finish it just to throw it on HBO Max?
It was essentially.
There had a bunch of unfinished effects.
Yeah, but I think they might. Look, if he's screening a copy of it.
Well, they released the Donner cut, which was a really poor, in comparison, production-wise, in comparison to De Laurentiis' actual Superman 2. Yeah. It was interesting it was an interesting thing to watch, but you watched it with the caveat of this is an unfinished film. So I think if they do that with the Snyder cut, people will accept the fact that the special effects are gone, and they don't need incentive to hate Warner Brothers any further, or to think that Warner Brothers meddling, is what. So if they watch the Snyder Cut and then they start getting delusions of grandeur of how great this movie could have been compared to the movie that they got, that will just fuel the vitriol even further. So, I mean, I'm not in support of it.
The self-fulfilling prophecy of bad fandom.
Yeah, sadly, I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of bad fans, but
there
are a lot of bad fans out there.
I didn't get a chance to actually include it in this, though, but I also read an article that some people are speculating this is going to actually kick the Snyderverse back in. Like it's going to resuscitate it. So it's not just one of those like we're going to dump it on HBO Max. Okay. If they do dump it on HBO Max, it would be a genius move though, because just out of sheer curiosity, you're going to sign up for HBO Max. Just
how does the Snyderverse get kicked back in when Cavill is pretty much indicating that he doesn't want to be Superman anymore? Affleck is out. Affleck just walked. Long walk, short pier.
Dr. Manhattan. Tell Ozymandias. Nothing in the hands, man.
The Pattinson verse.
I mean, look at this though. You have.
But I mean, I'm just saying, if you say it's going to kick in the Snyderverse, there's no one left from the Snyderverse with the exception of
you got Jason Momoa, you got Gal Gadot.
Yeah, but that's not the Snyderverse. That's not. He had nothing to do with their.
Well, he brought Wonder Woman.
Their consecutive movies alone.
He brought Wonder Woman in.
He hired Wonder Woman. That's about it. I mean, that's not. There's no more Snyderverse.
Kind of a big hire there. I mean, let's not mince words.
Are you hearing me? There's no Snyderverse. He's had nothing to do with the other two films. Okay, the two films that made $1 billion, which is why those two films are going to get sequels. Snyder has nothing to do with that.
Schneider or Schneider?
Whatever. His big contributions to the Snyderverse, okay, were Ben Affleck's Batman and Henry Cavill's Superman, and both of them are gone. So, and probably to be replaced, which means those movies are going to be erased from continuity.
Yeah.
So how can we get the Snyderverse back?
Look, I'm not telling you. I'm
This
just
is
telling you
like-
what I supposedly read.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm asking you in the form of discussion. How could we possibly get the Snyderverse back?
I think that you could easily rehire anybody at this point. I think that the old models of TV and film are gone now, where when something is canceled or someone moves on from something, that they don't come back again. Mainly because, especially what a cash cow all these films are, especially with the success of Aquaman, especially with the success of Wonder Woman, if the fans, quote unquote, if the fans on social media, quote unquote, and I'll use that, demand it, and Warner Brothers is stupid enough to go, to listen to social media, then they'll throw gobs of money at Ben Affleck. They'll throw gobs of money. You can have.
Well, what about Pattinson?
Pattinson,
Whatever.
and you can have his stuff because it's a year one kind of thing. It's an early Batman, and you can have a Justice League movie with Ben Affleck, or maybe Ben Affleck's just not in it. Maybe Henry Cavill's just not in it, but you round up and you get a new Green Lantern. You bring back Flash, Ezra Miller. He's still around. I mean, there's a way to do it.
No, I don't think about Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller done messed up.
What did he do? Did I miss that?
Yeah, he had a social meltdown.
He had a little spazzy moment where he manhandled a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come back from that.
On camera, as they usually do.
You can.
That's my point. Nowadays,
he goes to rehab. You just send him to rehab.
Anger management. You can do all this. Look, we live in a
society
society
send him to Snyder
where you can go to rehab for sex. Like having too much sex, you can go to rehab for. Like being addicted to sex. I mean, you could go to rehab for anything at this point. I think.
Okay, all right.
Finally,
I guess we're getting the Snyderverse back.
Finally, Ruby Rose unexpectedly leaves the Batwoman TV series on the CW. Warner Brothers to recast her role of Kate Kane / Batwoman before season 2 of the DC Comics series.
Can't wait to
and
get
she
that
did
full
it very
story.
unexpectedly. She just basically announced, what's that?
Can't wait to get that full story.
Yeah. Well, she says, I've made the very difficult decision to not return to Batwoman next season. She said in a statement, this was on Tuesday, it was not a decision I made lightly, because I have the utmost respect for the cast, crew, and everyone involved.
Oh, the utmost respect. She whipped out the utmost respect
When
language.
she was cast as Batwoman, not all fans were happy. Rose quit Twitter, being harassed. I'm sure she was a big void in her life, not having Twitter anymore, by angry Batwoman fans who didn't think she was the best fit for the role. No official reason has been given. The CW has yet to comment on it. The unexpected exit is not related to a stunt injury she sustained during filming in season 1, where she needed emergency surgery either. This is according to Deadline.
The rumors are already out there that she got fired and that they allowed her this sort of like exit strategy to save face. I don't know either way which one's right, and I don't particularly care. I like her in anything she does, and I'll probably watch her in anything she does, even though I did try watching Batwoman and was not successful. The Berlanti verse is not for me. It's just not. It's just way too CW-y, and I just can't do it.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's been resistant to being.
I really like her, and I hope she continues on, the path of doing cool movies and in small parts in movies and stuff like that. But hey, whatever. But I will be interested in hearing what becomes the official story eventually.
Well, you'll never get the official story. You'll just get the innuendo and the rumors. You won't get.
They'll replace her, and then we'll see if that works, because it usually replacing a lead. Very difficult. I mean, the only real success story about replacing a lead was Andy Whitfield with Spartacus, and now Those were tremendous extenuating circumstances.
I think you can get away with replacing her now. It's not as if it's 4 seasons in or 5 seasons in.
I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying
it's also not a show that's necessarily as high profile in the Arrowverse as some of the other shows.
It's in their top 5 shows. Their ratings
they have 5 shows, don't they?
It's the top. Not the Berlantiverse. I'm saying it's the top 5 WB shows.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Michael.
Well, that would make it even more curious to say that she got fired. I mean, it's really, I don't know. I kind of doubt it.
The point was, it's very difficult to replace the lead, so it'll be very interesting to see whether or not they manage to have a seamless transition. Might be more interesting than Batwoman.
They will. They'll pull someone else in. They'll probably someone honestly not as high profile as her. They'll find someone who's done some solid work before but isn't very well known, and she'll settle right into the role and she'll be fine.
We'll see.
That first season will become an anomaly visually, but as far as with the things that they've set in motion already, it won't change. It'll be fine.
What if they do like the Smashing Pumpkins route and just hire someone that looks exactly like her? Like just looks exactly like her. So that
would be weird.
Just never realized. Like when Smashing Pumpkins, they disbanded at some point, and Billy Corgan kept the name. He literally he kept the drummer and found bandmates that looked exactly like his previous bandmates.
Like another Asian guitarist.
It had another Asian guitarist and had another female bassist. So you would honestly, if you were on,
such a douche.
if you knew who no idea it was any different.
You knew who the bassist was though, because she was from Hole. So I mean,
right.
It's the random Asian guitarist. Probably
that's so bizarre.
That's a harder sell. You know that he wasn't aiming for that. He just coincidentally walked into a guy on the street who plays guitar.
That's so crazy. We got another guitarist who's Asian. Oh, how did that happen?
He didn't look like
he didn't look like James Iha.
He didn't look like James Iha, but he was.
But he was Asian. He was from the same region of the earth.
So, Mike, you're saying they don't all look alike?
Oh no!
I never said that to begin with. I don't see things like race and color.
I know. I knew I'd get to on that one.
Okay.
I don't see things in that, and I don't see things in that.
No, not at all.
But if you watch the Indy 500, are you seeing race?
Cute.
But wah, wah. On that note, when we come back, we're going to dive into, this is May movie blockbuster month for us. We're going to do review. One of the most controversial,
let's say
polarizing of all time, Temple of Doom, when we return. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. You can download this podcast. Go on to roguewavepodcast.com. It'll take you to our Apple podcast link. Please subscribe, click like, do all that kind of fun stuff. You can find us on Spotify. Again, search Rogue Wave Podcast. The more you do little things like that, the more you help us out, and we really appreciate it. All right. Switching over to our basic, so basically as last month, as Hassan basically said not to, and I'll use the word basically as much as I can humanly possibly do in this segment. Hassan told me not to tell everyone behind the curtain, but I love giving behind the curtain stuff. We literally sat there saying, I'm not sure what we're going to really talk about. Ruby Rose didn't quit. SnyderCut hadn't been released, and Game of Thrones was still 1 year ago. So I came up with this idea. I said, you know what, let's take the May blockbusters that have happened. Let's do a little retro review. Last week, we did Iron Man. Again, you can download last week's episode as well. And it was kind of cool seeing Iron Man again because I hadn't watched Iron Man since it first came out. And I kind of looked at it through today's lens. And I found some things that were kind of interesting and unique. Hassan chose not to do any work last week and not rewatch Iron Man. So he basically just let me talk.
That is not true. I rewatched Iron Man and Iron Man 2. Look how far I went.
Yeah, after we recorded last week's show. So
no,
kind of revert, kind of.
No, you're missing that up. I did not rewatch the Star Wars sequels. I
watched
Iron Man.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, right. I scolded you for that. Very true.
Dios mío.
Very true. I'm going to edit that out. So this week we're going back even further. Now, Iron Man is a relatively new movie, and again, one that I had not rewatched very many times, even though I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So it was kind of giving me like a fresh movie. This movie is both a polarizing movie, but also one that I've seen so many times. So to catch anything new out of it for me was a little difficult. It was Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones, the sequel to Raiders of the mega hit Raiders of the Lost Ark. The only thing I could say, well, a couple things, and I'll let you guys kind of dive in with some of your thoughts on the film itself. My only thing that I took away this time that I hadn't taken away from maybe say Iron Man or other things, because I grew up on this movie. I mean, this was actually the first Indiana Jones movie I ever saw. Maybe I was like 7, 8 years old when I saw it. And it was the most unbelievable thing. The roller coaster ride, in the mine. The cover of the heart was kind of scary, but I was a brave kid, so it didn't really affect me too much. Being able to like push a statue and find a secret, passageway. I mean, these are all like this is just candy for kids. I mean, this is, who doesn't want to like uncover some sort of treasure through a secret passage, go on this like amazing ride. He cuts the bridge and he's holding on, as people are dropping, he's saving, he's saving the day. He's beating the bad guy. He's helping everyone. And at the end, he kind of just, whereas he's kind of like looking for fortune and glory, gives it. I mean, it's a child's like dream come true. Fast forward to like 20 years later, and you don't realize how much vitriol people have for this particular installation in the canon. Do you guys share that vitriol? What are your thoughts? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Is it the worst one of the franchise? Someone actually on Twitter said that Crystal Skull was better than this, which I thought I did one of those Millhouse hats kind of go to the sky, to the ceiling kind of moments. When I read that, I couldn't believe that.
Hassan, would you like to take this?
I don't really have. I don't have an objective view to it because it's my favorite, but it's not. I would not say it is
of the trilogy or of the four.
Of the four, I would not say it is the best. Production wise, there's a lot of problems with Temple of Doom, but they're at this point nostalgically loving problems. Mm-hmm. Like they're just these problems that you've grown up with and that you kind of love it for. It was in 1984. So I was 11, I think, I was 10 when it came out. So it was, I understood it better than Raiders of the Lost Ark, which the only thing I remembered at the time from Raiders of the Lost Ark is a bunch of guys melted at the end of it, and I was not mentally prepared for it.
Isn't the snakes, like, to me, that's like the most indelible moment?
Snakes never bothered me. The bugs bothered me. The Temple of Doom bugs bothered the heck out of me. But the snakes didn't bother me. Melting people bothered me. The guy's heart didn't really bother me because it was kind of an abstract thing.
Yeah.
And
the guy was still alive.
And there was an access point for kids with Temple of Doom because of Short Round.
Yeah.
So it's my favorite nostalgically. Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite as a movie. I think that's the best movie in the entire series. And I'm one of the people who don't even have really a problem with Crystal Skull. But I can't give you an unbiased reaction to Temple of Doom because it's my favorite. We can once discuss. I could talk to you about all the mistakes that are in that movie, and I'm talking bad cuts and productions. And I'm not talking about like film school. I'm just talking about one scene where his foot's on fire, and then the next scene where
there's a few of those moments that I caught the second time around that you wouldn't have caught.
Yeah, he's fighting those two guys with the machetes, and then all of a sudden he's holding a machete, even though the machete goes off a cliff when he uses his whip. There's a lot of stuff like that, but those are endearing to me at this point. So I think Steve did an extensive deep dive into the film.
Notes because he didn't realize how little we prepare for this show. And
because he's seen past shows and he figured that there would be a hole
honestly,
here that
Steve,
needs to be filled.
All I do is I throw incendiary troll-like comments on Facebook and just let everyone else do the work for me, which I'll get into in a second. But what are your copious notes? And you can Game of Thrones this and just give us bullet points if you want.
So, Yeah, there's you know,
This is like he's
rewatching
giving a
this movie,
speech in front of his class right now.
I
Yeah.
haven't, you know, well, no, it's funny. It's like I haven't rewatched this film
Okay.
in probably. I mean, I may have caught small snippets of it on flipping through cable channels or whatever, but I haven't watched this nose to tail in probably at least 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. By the way, let me cut in real quick. Hassan, totally Molaram in Iron Man. They look like they could be.
That is
They
not
look-
the same actor.
I know they're not the same actor, but they could cast. They could cast.
Frat boy.
Molaram
Do you
could be
know
the
what you're
Batwoman
doing
that
by
quits,
comparing two
and the
Middle
Iron
Eastern
Man villain
actors
could be
together?
cast as the new
Oh, my
Batwoman,
God.
and you wouldn't even know.
I always try to save you from yourself. I always
look
try to save
identical.
you from you. You cannot say the two ethnic people look the same.
I didn't say the two ethnic people look the same. I said those two people look the same
Why?
because they have all the same features. The bald head, the nose, the size of the nose is like almost identical. The crazy look in their eyes.
You
Awesome.
talking about the main bad guy in Iron Man and Amrish Puri?
Yes, he is.
And Molaram.
You see it, Steve, right? It's
Slap
not
the
me,
red-
right?
slap the red.
You see it, right?
Paint on his head, and you got Molaram 2.0.
No, I don't think Mike is doing what you're actually pointing out, Hassan. But I also think that he's way off base. But that's here nor there.
I'm warning
Warning.
about the backlash.
Danger.
That's
When
all
we
I'm
get
trying to do.
canceled, we have to meet. We have to matter to people, which we don't. So
You
it works out pretty good.
you keep waving that flag, but one day we'll be big enough, and you will cancel yourself, sir.
I will.
And I
I
keep
will
trying to
celebrate.
warn you
I
off
will
of it.
celebrate. I'll be like, we did
Yeah.
it.
I don't think so. You're
We
not
reached the
canceling
point
me
of
with
cancellation.
you. Let Steve talk.
So some interesting things when I started to do a little deeper dive on this was the fact that when Spielberg and Lucas decided to jump into this sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was nearly almost immediately after the first and the success of the first, you know, they had this concept and they approached Lawrence Kasdan again to write the script, and Lawrence turned around and said, "No way."
Mm-hmm.
He thought the concept was way too, and to quote, he thought it was ugly and mean-spirited and did not want to be a party to it. So they reached out to Gloria Katz and Will Hike, and these two had been trying to get a 40s style noir movie made in that time frame for a decade or so.
Mm-hmm.
And this gave him a perfect opportunity to marry what Lucas and Spielberg wanted to do to that. I had done a bunch of other notes like going into this before I found out about that, which I then had to throw out because they all became moot. Because once I discovered that
there was no notes.
Well, once I discovered that basically that's how they approached this film as a 40s style sort of adventure thing.
Absolutely.
All that sort of serious looking at it all went out the window. And it's just all, and a lot of the things that even like, I think Hassan, that you point at and talk about how, you know, there's holes and bits and pieces missing and something happens. And I think a lot of that just harkens back to what they were doing as an homage to that style of filmmaking. And there are so many sequences in the movie where it's like super jokey, super fun, really being goofy. And then you turn around on a dime and it's a completely different sort of mindset. And they go straight into either an action sequence or a very serious scene with a lot of exposition. And there's the transitions are very stiff. There's not a lot of smoothness to this.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. And I think, but what's interesting too is that, so when I did do some nice little trolling on social media, I just kind of used the phrase Temple of Doom greater than Raiders of the Lost Ark ? And asked a legitimate question, but obviously they're to stoke a response from folks, so we get into the dialogue aspect to it. People like Fabian Nicieza, friend of the show and friend of all of us here, he said it's one thing to purposely troll our tweets to get attention or response, or to willfully commit a crime against humanity. So he didn't respond exactly the way I wanted to, but the notion is, and Todd Wright actually kind of summed this up a little bit, was and it was on the Facebook page. You can go to Rogue Wave, go to facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast. Temple of Scream Zoom is an amusement park ride, whereas Raiders is a wonderful homage to the cliffhanger serials of yesteryear. And I don't disagree in that sense, but what you described, Steve, is an homage to something different, using Indiana Jones as kind of the main character in this different kind of homage.
Yep.
And one of the things I love about Temple of Doom is that it's not trying to be Raiders. Everyone's like, oh, Last Crusade, Lex Fox, who's again a friend of the show. Best Indiana Jones films are based in Judeo-Christian myths. I'm not going to disagree that those were two of the best films. However, you don't have to base it in Judeo-Christian myths. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be Raiders. It doesn't have to be the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Temple of Doom is not trying to be either of those two films. In fact,
Nope.
I would argue that I would put Temple of Doom ahead of Last Crusade simply because Last Crusade was trying to recapture.
No.
I would say I would because it's trying to recapture what they had in Raiders of the Lost Ark with a different quest. Temple of Doom is not a quest movie as much as they do have this like stone quest. You got to go.
They
find
have a job to do, but it's not. You're right. It's not
a mystery quest.
Nope.
They're not solving any mysteries here. They're not trying to They're not trying to take something.
No, that's not true. They're solving the mystery of the missing kids.
Well, yes, but that's more of a crime than it is.
It's a mystery.
This is him doing a job.
Mystery in terms of like a long, lost like relic. They're not the mystery of what happened to said relic. That's not the mystery.
Hey, you're on your way back to Delhi. You're a famous archaeologist adventurer. Can you do us a favor and go grab these rocks back from these bad guys?
Right.
Fair enough.
So it's just a different kind of movie, and I actually kind of applaud Spielberg, even though he, I guess, has gone on record saying it's his least favorite Indiana Jones as well. So I guess he goes greater.
He said he made Last Crusade as an apology for Temple of Doom. His own words. Which were depressing to me because I really love Temple of Doom.
Yeah, but
I'm like, you didn't need to apologize to me.
Look, it's a little extra violent. It's a little more graphic. I do get, they created the PG-13 rating just for this movie. Like PG-13
No. You got that wrong, buddy.
I did?
They created the PG-13 rating because of this film.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
This film wasn't PG-13 rated. This movie came out, and the negative sort of...
Everybody freaked out.
The negative effect of this film and Gremlins caused Steven Spielberg to call the ratings board and start a discussion with them about creating the PG-13 rating.
Yeah. Which
the first PG-13 rated film was? Red
Dawn.
Yes.
Look at me doing my research.
Atta boy.
I mean, again, I'm looking at this film. That's the one takeaway I got from it, though, is that it's just different. And I applaud it because most sequels, especially in the 80s, like how many sequels did we see that were just carbon copies of the original? The only thing they kind of, if you didn't see Raiders of the Lost Ark, like try to erase Raiders of the Lost Ark, try to erase all the rest of the trilogy. I think this movie would become like, whether or not it would be a hit in the box office, I can't tell you. I feel like it would be one of those cult movies that people referenced for many, many years.
Without Raiders, this movie is there's no third film. There wouldn't have been a sequel to this film.
You don't think so?
Nope.
See, I don't know I don't know if they would have made a sequel to this film had there not been. Obviously, we'll never know that. But I could see this thing becoming like Big Trouble in Little China, where people just they revere it and love it, and they go back and.
That's possible over time. Yeah. But at the time, there wouldn't have been any squawking about going crazy to make a sequel.
And to kind of make Steve's point, Big Trouble in Little China never got a part 2.
That's my point. No, I agree. Right? No, I agree. Because my point is that I think this would have been. We don't know what it would have done in the box office. We really don't, right? But we do know that. No, we don't know. We don't know anything. But I could speculate that this would be a cult classic over time. And Hassan, to touch on your points, the fact that there's all these like.
Don't touch my points.
I touch them anytime I want to. The cuts were kind of off. Some of the people, like I think all of that.
And you know what? And I hear what you're saying about like some of those things might have been intentional as an homage to 1940s, 1930s movies. But some of them I don't know. I'm not buying it.
No, I don't buy that.
There are some serious like editorial like faux pas. Like you want to know what's the funniest? Look at the water during the rope bridge scene. Every shot. The ravine or the lake or whatever is different. Every shot. At one moment, it's a tributary. It's a bustling tributary that looks like several feet deep. Next shot, it's a it's a rocky
Alligators.
ravine, with a stream running through it. One shot is it's infested with alligators. The next shot, it's like completely empty.
Well, I just what I love. You know what I love about that too, though, and this is back. I even noticed this when I was like 8, 10 years old, whatever, 8, 9, 10 years old. They kept reusing the same shots of the alligator, like rolling around.
Yes,
it was basically,
they threw some fabric on him and they said, "Here, roll around."
It was amazing. Like that to me was just
put
like
some raw meat in a costume.
Yeah.
Even at a young age, I was always looking for shortcuts, and I go, if I ever make a movie, that's how I do a shortcut.
And awesome. if you go back to the films made in the 40s and 50s, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. No, I thought that was just little things like that, bring me back. So I have no hate for this movie. I will definitively say yes, Raiders is a much better movie, and I will always look back at Raiders as being a better movie. But having seen Temple of Doom first, and then having seen Raiders,
I didn't even know you saw that. You saw them out of order.
Yeah, because you didn't listen to my opening at all. You don't.
No, I ignore you usually.
I can't do that.
Because you just ramble on and you stick a lot of really bad jokes in there, and I'm like,
very true.
I'm a little older than you guys. I was 16 when this came out, so I had seen Raiders.
Is that why you're in space right now?
Yes.
he's in more advanced. He's in more advanced point of society than we are.
me and Elon Musk.
So one final note on this, at least from my end, and I'll go around and give you guys one final comment as well too. I post a lot to Twitter, and I just post because you're supposed to, and most of the time I just post into a vacuum. This tweet got some of the most reactions I've ever gotten. Most of them were like from Eric Palicki, get the hell out, hell no, you suck, which was kind of cool because I haven't gotten any.
But those you get all the time.
No, I don't get any. I don't get anything. I think that's what I'm saying. It's actually
then he
worse.
misses jokes. That's the thing, Steve. Then he kind of misses them.
If you get no reaction on social media, it's worse than getting bad reaction. Negative reaction.
At least
you've at least elicited a response from people. But this one did it. Temple of Doom greater than Raiders? ? I did it. Fabian actually commented on both. He was so enraged by my Facebook post that he went to Twitter, and he posted on that.
It's probably, the way you pose the question, though, right? Because I think if you just went and said, which one do you like the most, this or that, you would have probably gotten a lot more comprehensive, like, in-depth answers. But you wanted to, you wanted to poke the bear, and you, which one is greater than the other? Of course you're going to get.
It just shows, keep it simple, stupid. That's
right.
it. I didn't ask. I did it as simple with as little text as humanly possible.
Well,
real quick,
if that's
also
the engagement you wanted, then why are you complaining about it?
Real quick, also, I think we found this out a few years ago. I thought it was pretty impressive that it had kind of been kept a secret, or at least maybe just a secret for me. Dan Aykroyd, his little cameo
yep.
in the film, which I watched very closely today.
Carl Weber.
Watched it. What's that?
Carl Weber.
Yeah,
that's a character's name.
Yeah. They did a nice job of deliberately not pointing out that it's Dan Aykroyd. There was a little bit of a close-up at one point where you could really make it out that it's him.
Yeah, but you could tell by his voice. Even when I was a kid, I knew that was Dan Aykroyd.
You could, yeah, but you'd never. It would be one of those. Was that? Did I just see? Kind of moments, which I thought was kind of cool. And also, what do you call the opening? The club was the Obi-Wan club.
By the way, Obi-Wan, yeah,
with Toshiro Mifune.
Yeah,
Toshiro frickin' Funi. In the you don't know who? Okay, never mind.
No, so
that's significant. That is a significant cameo, by the way, to a lot of genre experts. Yeah,
because we're living in a Zoom age right now with the COVID, which is the first time we're mentioning the COVID today. That's progress right there. I'm going to give this a gigantic Zoom thumb up reaction to this movie. I still love it. It's still one of my favorite. I will not concede that Raiders is worse because I think Raiders is obviously better. I love Last Crusade, but Temple of Doom just holds a better place for me. I don't know. Steve, your rank?
Well, no, clearly it's of the three, it's my least favorite.
Okay.
But a couple of last minute things. When this movie came out, it was actually banned in India.
Oh.
Well, I can see why.
For a short period of time. It's since been rescinded, but it was originally banned in India. The sky rafting sequence where they get out of the plane and the mine car scene were both originally supposed to be in the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And they were actually cut from that film because there was too much going on. And they were able to reload them into the new film.
Into the Rogue sequel. Reloaded right there.
Yep. The main the slave master, the big guy that fights on the conveyor belt was the mechanic.
Yeah.
From the Raiders.
Exact same guy.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be in the third one.
They
cut his scene out.
Did
Patrick
they?
Roach. Yeah, Patrick Roach is his name. He was supposed to be in the third one.
Yeah, he's just listed as Gestapo for the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were supposed to walk into him in the blimp. They were supposed to have a fight with him in the blimp, and then they didn't show that.
And they're like, we've killed you twice now.
Yeah.
And one last little cameo bit in there. Captain Blumbert is Grady from The Shining.
Yeah.
Delbert Grady.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. You did your homework.
That's like Donovan, who is General Veers from Empire Strikes Back.
That's right.
It was one of my favorite cameos. Yeah, look, it's a Temple of Doom special place in my heart. My favorite of them. My favorite because of how old I was and when it came out. Not my favorite because it is the best. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Although it is one of my go-tos to point out whenever people say how ridiculous the refrigerator scene is in Crystal Skull.
Well, apparently,
and how that doesn't and how it doesn't work. And I'm like, yeah, well, I guess you don't watch Indiana Jones, because if you could jump out of an airplane with a raft or rip a guy's heart out and he's still breathing, yeah, those are kind of ridiculous, aspects of reality. Also,
in rebuttal to that, the sky rafting sequence was actually shot as a practical effect with dummies, not humans.
Right.
And the take you see in the film
was
their first actual try, and it worked.
Yep. And it worked. So it can be done.
So there you go. That's what I'm talking about. When people talk about, aliens are stupid and a nuclear fridge is stupid, I'm like, you guys don't realize these are 1940s serials that they're doing. You don't even understand the genre that you're watching. So yeah, no excuse for the monkeys in Crystal Skull. I got no excuse for that. But everything else that is pointed out as what makes that movie lame in comparison to the other movies is inaccurate.
Yeah,
in my humble opinion.
Crystal Skull, you haven't seen it?
Steve,
haven't seen it.
Steve, do yourself a favor. Now, especially when you're in COVID isolation, you've got every excuse.
Let me tell you, and again, the big issue with Crystal Skull, which is why I actually do rank it as...
I recommend you see it, Steve. That's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
It's the fact that it is whereas Temple of Doom is not trying to be a mythological mystery film. It's trying to be an action adventure film. Crystal Skull is trying to be a mythological mystery film, and it fails. Like, that's ultimately why I don't like Crystal Skull.
I disagree with you. I utterly disagree with you.
The quest doesn't... First of all, the quest in Crystal Skull doesn't... there's no like aha moments. There's no Well of Soul moment. There's no we have to go underneath the Vatican. There's no like they try to do it. They just don't pull it off. They just don't execute.
I disagree with you.
All right.
Subjective.
I guess so. I
guess
guess
it is.
Hassan says Crystal Skull, best Indiana Jones film ever. All right. When we come back,
Hassan says Mike's full of shit. That's what he said.
Bing. We go spin the Rex. We are back. Thank you for joining us on the Rogue Wave podcast. Steve, thank you for guesting tonight. Printed in Blood. What
My pleasure.
What else you got going on before we spin the racks?
Our Ghostbusters art book was just released yesterday. Available on Amazon in the U.S. and I think it comes out in the U.K. on the 26th of May.
Okay.
But it's available U.S., Canada. It's worldwide. Other than that, it's,
You've got some projects in the works.
Oh, we definitely do.
There you go. That's always be promoted.
Shrouded in mystery.
Lots of stuff in the works.
Baby.
Shrouded
in mystery. Firefly book is out in September.
There you go.
Nice.
All right, we are big
Nice.
fanboys of comics and graphic novels, and every week we like to bring you the inside info and the source material that will make its way onto the big and small screen very soon. We call this segment Spinning the Racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
Marvel plans Neal Adams, Mark Waid, Fantastic Four story. Marvel will launch Fantastic Four Antithesis, a new series written by Mark Waid with art by Neal Adams in August. This will be the first full-length Fantastic Four story by Adams and the first collaboration between Waid and Adams. This is from ICV2. Inks will be by Mark Farmer, who I love his inks on Alan Davis. You've done some inking in your time. Sire number 8. Also, that title that you did with Hassan that I can never pronounce, so I won't even try.
Arcadia.
There you go.
Very simple.
Can you find that anywhere? Is that on Amazon?
No.
We should.
If you
I have a copy.
If you email me, you can find it.
Excellent. Excellent.
I can show you the art boards for it. You know, it's accessible that way.
Okay. You gotta get that on Amazon, bros. What are you doing? That's some. You're missing out on the 3 sales.
There's a lot going on, as we said. We're working on everything. Keep going.
In addition to Marvel's first super team, the story will also feature Galactus, Silver Surfer, and a new nemesis, Antithesis. I know you guys both have worked extensively with Neal Adams at conventions. First of all, really nice to see that we've got some new comics coming out. That it's not just an announcement of when will books return, but we actually have books coming back, which is pretty cool. I know the full slate of Marvel books I think are coming back in July now. As far as I understand,
that's good to know. That's kind of fantastic news, considering everyone was doom and gloom just a couple of weeks ago about the total end of the industry, which everybody who's been in the industry as long as we have knew it was not the end of anything,
Yeah.
But it's good to hear that no one is naysaying the viability of comic books anymore.
There's certainly some things that I wish would end.
Yeah. It's interesting too because
will you name those things?
I was reading about some of the bookstores and
show.
things like that. Like Barnes & Noble has removed furniture, and it's instructing customers to place books they've handled that aren't purchased in trolleys, where they'll be placed in quarantine for 5 days before they're reshelved. There's a bunch of things that stores in general are trying to overcome and have to overcome, in order to keep in business. But it looks like many retailers in the comic book world have expanded their online community building. And those, that's
all things they should have been doing.
I know. We've talked about it too. I mean, it's tough. You see some of the progressive stores become experience shops,
of course,
as opposed to just retail shops. And then you see some that just want to, they want to have the comic book store that they had when they were a kid, and that world just doesn't exist right now.
It doesn't work.
Even
Why
before
not
the
be
pandemic.
part of the future? Why not have both? You branch out, stick your toe in the digital, so that once you realize the viability of that revenue stream, you can go in full bore and still have your hobby shop and still be making money.
And there are so many free tools available to these people to be able to do it, as opposed to they're even like 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, and there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah,
There's no downside.
Yeah, one of the things, just getting back to the Fantastic Four, the reason I brought it up too, I wonder, is this going to be the first entry into the movieverse? Are we going to start seeing, because I know Disney owns Fox. I know that they're kind of plotted out for the next 2-3 years, but you gotta figure we're going to start seeing some cameos. I mean, they delayed Black Widow. I got to imagine there's something, there. I don't think it's going to connect necessarily to Fantastic Four or X-Men, but I just wonder if Fantastic Four is going to, if Marvel's making these announcements because there's something else kind of going behind the scenes.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know what rabbit they can pull out of a hat with 3 months of production shut down, So pretty much the only thing that they have to offer now are plans, the revelation of whatever their production schemes are going to be in the coming months, because no one's been able to do anything.
Right.
That's one of our main problems. We're out of content. Everything that we're watching now has been stuff that's been, held back for months. Like even Snowpiercer was delayed so that is actual
So they could
content
fire
that
the
we can
guy.
actually. I mean, I'm just saying because it was delayed, it's actual useful, its viability as actual genuine content, and it's benefited from that, right? It's got a huge audience to that because people are starving for something new to watch.
Yeah.
So the only thing Marvel really can do right now is announce stuff. They don't have anything to offer us. The biggest thing they have on Disney Plus is a documentary in the making of the Mandalorian. Now that's not bad. It's great entertainment, but to the way they're hawking it as though it's brand new material that you should come to Disney Plus and see.
Yeah, but that's what makes the idea of the Snyder Cut actually so much more interesting if the only place you can get it is on a streaming service, because now
I believe people are going to watch. I believe it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't think that's going to settle anything. Yeah. That's the thing. Everybody's like, release a Snyder Cut because that's the answer to all these questions we're asking. It's not going to answer anything, And then there's just going to be a camp. There's going to be the Snyder camp, and there's going to be the Whedon camp, and then it's going to be another reason.
That really thinks that Batman v Superman is any good. Like,
there's a lot of people who like it. There's it's got its fans.
Yeah. I don't know.
Getting back to the Marvel Universe thing.
Steve.
I'll tell you this. Across 20 films, looking, hindsight, and looking what Kevin Feige did, I refuse to believe at this point that there is not at least a outline of what he wants to do for the next 20 films that already exists. I don't think there's anything going to be left to chance on this, especially bringing in two potentially huge new franchises into the fold, to expand that universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
And as successful as he was, whether some of that was by chance or by plan, I don't think that anything that we see come out, there's going to be a whole lot of wild cards involved.
My prediction, you're going to see Fantastic Four end credits of Eternals in some way, shape, or form. Just because it's a Kirby universe, it's a cosmic kind of universe. I feel like it fits that Fantastic Four thing. We didn't bring it up last week when we did our Iron Man retro review, but apparently there was an original cut that they changed of the end credit scene with Samuel L. Jackson talking about mutants and radioactive spiders and things like that. And so they just released that in 2019, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know. I feel like Fantastic Four, we might be seeing it around the corner. All right, Steve Hoveke, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your input and your extensive research, which we clearly did not do and will never do. So you obviously
what do you mean we, white man?
Or listen to the podcast. Next week, our May movie blockbuster retro review concludes with The Fifth Element, the infamous 1997 cult movie, Bruce Willis.
Infamous?
Yeah.
He doesn't. Infamous.
He doesn't understand language, Steve.
It's a cult movie.
That's all.
Or maybe it's a famous.
There's nothing infamous. Infamous is not. That's not an adjective. Yeah, it's not an adjective you use to name. Never mind.
People think it's great. This is the abuse I suffer.
If people think it's great, then it's not infamous.
It's just famous.
Yeah.
It's not famous though, because it's a cult movie. I'm not going to argue with guys. It's my show. I'll see you guys next week. Rogue Wave.